Hello and welcome to another edition of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. I'm your host Marty alongside John
Hello.
and Aaron.
Hello.
No Dave tonight. He is on the I don't know. He's just not available tonight, I think is what he said. But this is our first episode of 2024. So we do have a lot to talk about. I think our last one was just before Christmas. So we do have quite a bit to talk about. But before we get there and before we continue with our usual podcast in the way we normally do, we're actually going to start off this week's podcast for anybody who's watching with a very special guest. Let me just see if I can bring him in. Give me a second. Well, Gav, how you doing?
Hi, fellas.
Well, just as I was just before you came on, or I was just introducing you. For anybody who doesn't know, Gavin Kelly is a regular for the SSE Arena. Everybody pretty much knows his face in the SSE Arena. Long-term Belfast Giants fan. Although this week, Gav, maybe slightly turned colours, not by choice, maybe, but. Welcome to the podcast. First off, I mean, congratulations. It must have been a massive, I suppose, lifetime ambition and achievement to jump onto that ice in front of a pretty much sellout crowd in the SSE Arena.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. It was a pretty special experience. I'm not going to lie, when I woke up I think I had a bit of a lie-in. I got a call at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning from Todd Judium, who's the general manager of the Flyers. And I honestly thought it was one of the guys on my team having a prank. I think I actually said to him, yeah, right. And I was about to hang the phone up. And he went, no, it's Todd Judium. And yeah, and we just had a great chat. He said Tom Cullen had watched pre-game skate before Christmas when I was skating, and he'd seen me training and stuff, and they were down, I think, Little, their usual backup. He was sick. He had the flu, so they needed a goalie, and I'm glad Little got the flu. I'm sorry.
I suppose for anybody who isn't aware, I suppose Gav, I guess we're right in saying that you're officially probably down as an EBUG. Would that be right in saying you were down as an EBUG for? Yeah. And for anybody who's new to hockey, because we do get quite a few fans on this podcast who maybe are new to the world of hockey, can you just explain kind of what an EBUG is from a goalie's point of view?
Yeah, it's just like a goalie that's allowed to be on a short-term contract to cover a team. Usually, I got a great experience because I was allowed to be on the bench, obviously. But in the NHL, an EBUG actually has to sit in the changing room or in a back room watching the game on a TV. And if a goalie goes down, he has to quickly get changed, and he gets on the bench or in a game. A couple of famous guys. Scott, I can't remember the guy's second name in Chicago. He was an accountant. And he got on to play a period, and then there's the guy. Unfortunately, it kills me as a Leafs fan.
Yeah.
Ayers, who beat them playing for Carolina. So, but it's slightly different in the UK, whereas if an EBUG there wouldn't be a third choice EBUG. You would be, if the backup goaltender's out, you would get a goaltender to be on the bench. So yeah, it was just like I'd been training for a couple of months, so I was ready to go, and I think Todd Dilliam said you have to honor the fact that if you do get on the ice, you have to play hard for the Flyers
not just ship a few.
Not ship a few. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in that situation, because you would get stick from all the home fans. I think I would walk around the SSC and no one would look at me for a couple of years if I got on and stopped them. But
Gav, talking of that, what was it like? You've obviously got the build up from when Dutz has phoned you, and you know that you're gonna step out on a game night. You're going to a building that you know incredibly well, but you're going to the locker room slightly further down the corridor. What's that like, going into that room with those guys and then stepping out for warm up? You've got the Giants on one side and you're over with the blue and gold.
Yeah, it was just a crazy situation. It was like watching, do you know, the NHL 24/7, where you get backstage access to everything that's going on. That's what it was like for me at the weekend. Just uh, I loved hearing Tom Cullen being able to talk, talking to his team and the team talks, and I just soaked it all in. It was he's a fantastic coach, by the way. Like, if we didn't have Kiefer, I would love him behind our bench. He's passionate, he's articulate, he cares about his team. It was just like I wanted to go to battle for him when he sit and listen to. I was like, "Come on, Flyers!" But yeah, it was just the whole day. The whole day was amazing, and but it was so surreal. Like the boys are trying to wind me up. The Giants boys are trying to wind me up and warm up and stuff, and giving me Sato, like the Kohei was giving me a bit of stick over the benches, and Basco, and yeah.
I was
So
going to ask because there's a really good photo of you next to Besco doing a few stretches. Was
yeah,
there a few chirps getting thrown?
yeah, and I just said I hadn't seen him since he got back from the Spangler Cup, and I just said, no, really pleased for him. He deserves it. Even like no one can ever take that away from him, that he got to play for his country, and the Spangler Cup is such a storied, historic tournament, and even though, like, even if he had just played 1 minute, 30 seconds, still, or just been on the bench, it's still an incredible achievement, and no one can take that away from him.
Exactly. We will probably be talking about that slightly later on in the podcast because it was a massive achievement for him. But
Yeah,
coming back to you, we had one of your teammates, shall we say, Fife Flyers teammates. We had Colin Shirley on 14 of 14 with John there, just
yeah.
before Christmas. And he talked about the atmosphere among the guys there in Fife. I know it was only a short period of time. Was it welcome arms? Did you have a great time? Did they, was there much chat with them? Were they good with you
Oh,
coming on?
they couldn't have been any better. They're a fantastic bunch of lads, and it was the strangest feeling because I was so disappointed with lost in the shootout, but I was also really pleased for them because I could see I followed them all the way through the game. I could feel the build up in their game. Like, even at 3-0 down, they were totally positive. There's no negativity on the bench, and um, I could actually see the Giants bench was actually getting very frustrated and a bit negative at times. You know, there was a lot of banging of sticks and a lot of swear words, and whereas Fife, to their credit, even no matter what situation they were in, they were like they just kept. Tom Cullen kept saying, just take it a shift at a time, and they were really positive the whole way through. And they were saying we owe these guys one, and so yeah, it was just they worked hard for it. I'm not saying, of course, I'm not saying the Giants didn't work hard, but I just think they really wanted it a bit more than the Giants on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about that in the room after the game, Gav, because I think was that the first time the Flyers have beaten the Giants in the SSE since about 2018. I mean
2018,
that room must have been jumping.
yeah, yeah, like they'd won a trophy. They were singing songs, and I was, I'm like, should I be really pleased here that the Giants lost, that I get to experience the fact that they're winning their first game since 2018. It was a crazy experience. It was fun seeing how much it meant to those guys, and that's a crazy stat that we haven't lost the game to them since for all that length of time, and I felt good for the amount of Five Flyers fans that were over, because it must have really hurt last year when they got absolutely annihilated in the Challenge Cup
Chance
final.
Cup final. Yeah.
And so I felt good for them too, that they got to come over and have a good night, and they earned it. They just, even when, as I said, when they were 3-0 down, they just kept working their socks off, and they got a bit of luck too. But a good friend of mine, Paxton Schulte, always said you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good, and sometimes when you're going through a shit period, you just have to knuckle down and just keep going into the trenches every game and working harder than your opponent. And I think that it showed that how tired Fife were the next day. After putting so much into the game on Saturday night, they didn't have a lot of energy. They had a bit of energy in the first when they went 2-0 up to Nottingham, but Nottingham came back on them, and they just didn't have a lot of legs. They were down to 4D again. And another Jonas Emmerdal, he played 10 minutes on Saturday night in Belfast, but he didn't play a single shift on Sunday. So that's tough on a body, like
Yeah.
tough on a team. You just in this league and with intensity that most teams play at, running 4D is just a nightmare. It's you're asking for D-men to play over 30 minutes a game and penalty kill and power play, and then the guys literally they didn't even have much time to celebrate. They didn't even have any beers. It was straight the pack after they finished singing their songs and having a shower. They got straight onto the coach and over to the stand line and had to wait on a 1 o'clock ceiling or 2 o'clock ceiling. Didn't get into 6 a.m. Didn't get and then they had to go home for a quick sleep and they were back at the rink at 3 p.m. again. So
I mean,
I don't think fans appreciate how hard it is. Yes, it's they think all the UK is small. No, there's not the huge travel that you get in North America, but it's still a tough turnaround. Like you don't, it's a lot of double headers, and if teams are short benched, it's even harder.
yeah, I mean, I mean, you're completely right. You know, as you say, fans don't appreciate sometimes and don't maybe fully understand just that sheer amount of travel, the legs, the bus legs and stuff, just everything that comes in part of that. You know, especially when you have that such a short turnaround in terms of having one game after the other.
Yeah.
Gav, I know you have to go off. We've only got a short time because I know you have to go off to
No, you're
tune in
fine.
the game.
I'm okay. Okay.
The next thing I was going to say was, you know, obviously, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for about 17 years now. You know, starting on those days back as Gordy the Gorilla and your man Keeney. But now that you know, to obviously see you on the ice on Saturday was just a phenomenal thing to see. You know, even from me as a semi friend and as a fan and just knowing you so well. So seeing you on the ice was a bit of a proud moment as well. And I can only say from me, just seeing you on the ice was just like, yeah, this is great. But anybody who knows you, anybody who's been around the Giants for a long enough time knows, obviously, your mum and dad, massive fans of Belfast Giants. Mum was there on the night. There's a photograph, I think, shared on Facebook, if you don't mind me saying. I think it was a photograph of your mum standing, and you could just literally see the pride in her face. What was her words to you whenever you found out, and also after the game?
We had a bit of a cry after the match, but it was a bit of an emotional moment. Like,
of course.
But yeah, she loved every second of it. I think she said she could have just went home happy and went back home to the apartment to have a drink to settle her nerves. She said she was nervous the whole way through the warm up. I was going to fall flat in my face or something. I'm like, oh, thanks. So yeah, and they give me the game puck, the winning penalty game puck, and the game sheet and stuff. So yeah, it's just something I thought would never happen, and even though I've trained a lot with the team, I just thought and I would never be able to enjoy that situation. Um, it's, as I said in my Facebook post, it's not quite my dream. It would have been amazing to back up the Giants someday, but I could die happy now that I've got on to an official game sheet of a pro league. So
one step at a time here, Gav. There's always next time.
Yeah, and if one more thing, I just on touching on that, like getting on the game sheet, it was one of the lads said to me yesterday that it's an official record. I'm the first openly gay man in Europe to be on an official pro game sheet. So
no way.
That's pretty
wow.
good.
Wow.
So,
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's
Well done, man.
definitely fantastic.
Because the young lad in Manchester, sorry, I can't remember his name. He was with a girl at the time. He's bi, and but I'm the first openly gay man to be on a European And I think the Look Pro Cup in AHL in America is the first in North America. So yeah, it's just like
Wow.
it gives me enormous pride if I can help one, even one queer kid that goes to the Giants to say that they don't feel alone, or they don't feel that they're not good enough, or just gives them a bit of a G up or a bit of confidence. That's cool. That's cool with me. I'm happy to speak about that, and I just think it's sad because it's such a like it's seen as such an extremely masculine sport that you think, um, especially I remember growing up, you hear a lot of homophobic comments, and it can be a tough environment. But if the more people talk about it, the more people normalize it, that it's not a big deal. It really isn't, and it's just keep talking,
Yeah.
keep it in the conversation, and I think the league's making enormous strides with the Pride initiative and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I was actually just about to say that it's a good time for you to come up with that, and obviously obviously knowing that, and obviously coming into this month is the official Pride month in the Elite League, I should say, and obviously we'll have the Pride games at the end of this month. So that's
yeah.
a fantastic piece of information there, and something wonderful for you to have in terms of knowing that as well. You talked about the game sheet, obviously, so now you've got an official game sheet, and you're on official game sheet. You're officially a player for the Elite League. Does that mean you get to update your hockey DB and your elite prospects as well with the same?
Yeah, I hope so, because when I played in the Scottish National League, they put in the completely wrong stats, that I was 5'11" and 270 pounds or something like that. So I've emailed them and I'm like, I'm 6'3" and 240 pounds. It's slightly out, and no one's got back to me. So maybe if you're out there somewhere, you can someone
Please
please change
fix it.
my stats on Elite League prospects. So yeah,
So,
I don't.
Gav, do you have the jersey hung up around the house now, or?
Unfortunately, they said they would have loved to give me the jersey, but they needed that for the next night in Nottingham. They were getting another, or not next night in
Okay.
Nottingham, next night in Fife,
Yes.
a local backup. So, um, but it's fun. They that was a bit of a hoo-ha too. The Kevin Linskog put on a jersey at the start of the game, which was number 1 and or number 30, and I was number 1, and it was they lifted the wrong jersey. It was like a extra large player jersey, so not a goalie cut. And he went mad with the equipment manager and said, "This is not good enough. This is not, like, I don't feel comfortable." And the equipment manager had to stand on the bench, starting cutting holes and cutting up the inside of his shirt, and he still didn't like it. So at the end of the warm up, I had to swap jerseys with him, and then I come out in a number 1 or a number 30 jersey, and it looked like I was wearing a flipping skinny tank top with cuts in it. They had to cut it. They had to cut
It
the
just
jersey.
it makes me think of the time. I think I'm right in thinking it was the Flyers who arrived without jerseys, or
No,
without the right jerseys, and
No, that
had
was.
to just
I think was it the Capitals? No,
It was Capitals.
might
Yeah,
be the
it was
Caps, might
Capitals.
be the
Yeah, it was
Caps.
Caps.
Just
Yeah,
imagine,
yeah.
you could have actually, if it had been that situation, you could have actually been out in a Giants jersey just inside out.
Oh,
It was-
I was about
it
to
was-
say, Aaron, even if Gav had been given the Fife Flyers jersey, I don't ever think I would ever imagine seeing him pretty much in it that often in the SSC. I don't think it's very rare. No, I would never see it. I was about to say, I don't think I've ever seen you outside of a Giants
It
jersey.
would be up in my bar. I was going. I asked them could I keep the jersey because I was going to put it in my bar in the apartment, but no, they said unfortunately they said they would try and get me one sent over, but it is what it is. I'm happy with the game puck and the game sheet and
Oh,
the
wow.
memories and the photographs and.
I'll go down the road. I'll go down the road. I'm in Fife here. I'll go
Oh,
down and
good
have a chat
man,
with Tom.
good man.
Your friends with the
Yeah,
equipment manager. It's all right. Gav, listen, thank you so much for joining us.
problem.
And again, congratulations on your achievement and getting to have that experience. Yes, so thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Well
Cheers
done,
for
buddy.
having me. Cheers for having me, lads. All the best. See you
Cheers,
later.
mate. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
I have.
Boys, like, I mean, as fans, like, what an experience that must have been. I mean, can you imagine just like, getting that call, as Gav said, that call, thinking, what is going on here, and then like just later on that day appearing on the ice, the SSE.
Was it that day?
Wild.
I thought was it. You got the call on the Saturday, and the game was on the Sunday.
No.
The game was on
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. Wow.
Insane.
Absolutely wild.
It's great. It was great. It was really, really good. As I say, congrats to Gav. I think that was just a fantastic achievement to be able to do that. Boys, as I was saying before we had Gav on, we'll kind of just a bit of a change to the way we start our podcast. So I think we'll start in soon to looking at the league standings as they currently are. But before we get there, just thought I'd check in because it has been a while since we've seen each other. Aaron, how's things with you? How was Christmas?
All good. And I've actually, I don't know if you've noticed, I've posed up a pair of shoes here. I think I showed you these before
You sent them in the WhatsApp group, yep. Mm-hmm.
So I have to give a massive shout out to I'm going to give my sister a massive shout out because every Christmas they get me a really good hockey present. So they got me I think we all have them now. The Ruth and my and her husband got me the Belfast Giants logo made in wood. And this year they kind of outdone themselves, and I appreciate this is a podcast, but anyone who's actually watching, she got me custom made Giant shoes.
I mean, not to jump on the trend that happens every single time you get one of these presents, but can we have the link?
Yeah, like look at those. Lovely white trainers with teal stripes on them, and then the Giants logo just at the back. I've worn them outside once because I'm terrified of ruining them. And it might be if I ever do bring them to the Giants, I might like bring two pairs of shoes so that when I'm walking to the arena through the car parks, I'll be wearing one pair of shoes. Get to the arena quickly.
Can I suggest that you never ever wear them in Fife?
Because of the car park.
Because of the car park.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a massive excitement, and I thought that you guys would appreciate the lovely looking shoes.
And you thought correct, don't you worry. John, how are you? How was everything for Christmas with you and the New Year's?
Oh, good. Busy Christmas period. Down in the northeast with the family. Back up here, quiet New Year's. Managed to get myself out to the Giants Dundee game on Hogmanay, which I would say was great. Not a great showing, but I'm sure we'll come on to talk a little bit more about games in particular. It was one, again, where I walked out not entirely happy about the performance, but sure, what do you do? Other than that, grand. Can only hope 2024's as good or better than 2023.
Fingers crossed. We are going to come back to, obviously, we're going to actually get stuck in now to our podcast as we normally do, and we're going to start with the league standings. And
whoa. You can't get away with that. What about your holiday? What about your Christmas?
Yeah, it was fine. It was okay. Yeah, took in a few Giants games. Went to the Friendship Series, which we'll come back to as well in period 1 or period 3. I can't remember. So yeah, it was good. As you can be expected. What did I get? I got some stuff to add to my background here, which you probably see my BD1 Lego and a couple of other bits and pieces. So we're
really good at this podcasting. Look at all my stuff.
Look at all this stuff here. If you're on the YouTube,
audio podcasting is so 2019, 2020. Come on, it's the video podcast is where it is.
So, as I said before, I talked about my Christmas. Let's get stuck in as we normally do with our podcast and start off with the league standings here in the UK in the Elite Ice Hockey League. Sitting in top spot still, even from before Christmas from the last podcast, is Sheffield Steelers with 25 games played and 45 points. The Cardiff Devils are in second with 26 games played and 33 points. The Belfast Giants are in third with 26 games played, 31 points. The Guildford Flames are in fourth with 26 games played, 31 points. Dundee currently sit in fifth with 27 games played, 29 points. Coventry are in sixth with 25 games played, 27 points. Glasgow sit in seventh with 27 games played, 27 points. Manchester Storm sit in eighth with 26 games played and 26 points. The Nottingham Panthers sit in ninth, 22 games, 22 points. And the Fife Flyers sit on bottom with 28 games played and 21 points. John, let's come to you first. Let's look at the top of this league. The Sheffield Steelers sitting there with 25 games played, 45 points, and the Cardiff Devils are after them, 26 games, but with what's that, like 12 points of a difference of the top there. I mean, I don't mean to be a pessimist, but what do the Sheffield Steelers need to do to mess this up, shall we say, to not take this league? What do they need to avoid, shall we say? I think at the moment they're tipped
tax evasion and something that gets a lot of the business arrested, and basically the team folding. I know we're only halfway through the season, but the Steelers are by far and away the team to beat. There's been a lot of chat across other podcasts and on social media about the fact that the Steelers are very likely to be the most expensive Elite League roster ever assembled. I think that's very true. However, that is a reaction to the Belfast Giants team that we've seen over the last 3 seasons. It's a reaction to the Cardiff Devils since their new owners took over and the investment that's been seen there. The Steelers have just caught up, and they've caught up in a fashion that has seen them leapfrog at a time when the Giants, through their own success, have found themselves in, I don't want to call it a rebuild, but it might as well be a rebuild. I know that in the main, Elite League teams tend to rebuild in the summer every single year, but the Giants held on to quite a big core for a number of seasons. This year was the first time we saw wholesale change. The Steelers have done some made quite a few big changes, but it's working for them. And a coach that honestly, after playoffs last year, we thought was in real bother. He has turned it around. Aaron Fox has turned that around, and really they are staring down the barrel of a league championship. I think there's every chance
any other time where there's been such a gap.
Belfast Giants winning it just after Christmas. The Paul Adey year, we were dominant, and we should have won it all, and we didn't. This Sheffield Steelers team, I would say, are more dominant in the games. I think they haven't lost an away game yet. That's how good this team is. The gap is
only got
not
2 losses.
Insurmountable. Yeah. The gap is not insurmountable, but it's getting close to it. This is not the same situation that we saw between Guildford and Belfast last season. Belfast, while probably points-wise, are probably not far behind where we were. Sheffield are just so far ahead that it's going to take almost an abject failure of the organisation for someone else to win the league this year.
So have you been looking at their books? Have you found anything in their tax books or anything like that?
Not yet, but be careful what you search around Sheffield on social media right now.
There seems to be a lot going on there with the Steel Dogs and stuff, but I'm sure there's another podcast that's live right now that's talking about that very situation.
Anthony.
We don't have him tonight, so we won't have him
jumping
in to give us some advice. And it's gonna be hard. We won't have him jumping in to help us with comments and pointers. The Cardiff Devils obviously are in second there, and the Belfast Giants are in third, as we talked about. And Guildford technically we're sitting in fourth with the same points, pretty much as the Belfast Giants. 26 games played, 31 points. I mean, it's as you said, John. It would take a massive derailment of some description to knock Sheffield off the course at the moment. They've had a fantastic season, and Aaron, you pointed out yourself. There's only 2 losses and 2 regulation losses. I've had 19 wins, like 3 overtime wins. 106 goals for this team. Say what you will, they're playing well, and it hurts to say it because obviously it's Belfast Giants fan, but they're playing well, and you can't deny that that they're doing what they need to do. It is what it is. In terms of Cardiff Devils, looking there, they're obviously going to be playing the Conti Cup this coming weekend. I don't know if we've got that in our running order or not, but they're playing the Continental Cup this weekend, I believe. I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Has the focus, do you think, for them always been the last few weeks the Continental Cup, in the hope that maybe they can put out an overall win there? Do you think, Aaron, John, anyone?
I'll go. Yes, the Devils will be putting a lot into the Conti Cup. They are in the final. They're hosting the final. And like you say, it's this weekend. They have an opportunity for silverware. before any other team in the Elite League. They can take home the dinner plate of destiny if they win. I think, yeah. I mean, it's 3 games. It's 3 games for a championship, effectively. But they will have some strong opposition. I know there's a couple of decent teams, but Katowice are there, and I know again Katowice have travelled in numbers fans-wise. So there's been chat online that the Devils fans really haven't seen a fan base like this, and you know what? They're right. They haven't seen a fan base like Katowice. They were epic. Their march through Belfast and over the bridge to the arena was amazing. The year that they played us, and I think I'm right in saying that was when Tom Cullen was their coach as well.
Yep.
So the Devils will be putting a lot of stock in this. My favourite thing, and I know we talk about jerseys quite a lot. My favourite thing. Did you guys see the launch of the Conti Cup Devils jersey?
The twirly thing.
And, yeah. So it's twirling. It's a video. You can't see it, but I know fine rightly that rather than this being on any sort of little motor spinning around, there is someone feverishly going like this, turning a hanger just to turn this jersey back and forward, and it's fantastic. I will give them this though, with their new logo, which I still hate. It is a nice clean jersey, and I'll give them that. It is a nice clean jersey, and do you know what? They'll probably have replica sales through the roof, and their shirt off the back ticket sales will be enormous this weekend. So all power to them for it.
Looking towards the middle section then, and I say the middle section of the league, but it's realistically they're 2 points below. The next team down is Dundee with 29 points, and they're like 2 points below third and fourth.
How good is it to see Dundee that high though?
I know Dundee sort of having a bad start to the season, but pulling it back and now sitting in 5th with Coventry in 6th and Glasgow in 7th. I mean, they're not having too bad of a season, shall we say? I mean, Dundee pulling up to there whenever people thought we're writing them off right at the start, having a woeful start at the very beginning of the season. I mean, it's a good sign. It's good to see 2 Scottish teams sitting 5th and 7th, or like solidly in there at the moment. Holding spaces potentially for those playoff runs towards the end of the season. I mean, the Manchester Storm sitting in 8th as well, and only 1 point behind 6th and 7th. I mean, it's quite a strong middle pack too.
Definitely. As you say, Marty, there's not even all the way up to, well, I should say maybe even the Belfast Giants, and we're only halfway through the season, so all of that could change about. There's not that many points.
I'll go further. I'd go further than that. Second to 8th, and actually, I would include the Panthers in this. I know they've had a bit of a tough run in the last couple of weeks, but they're starting to see results. 2nd to 9th, you can throw a blanket over those teams, bearing in mind the games in hand that the Panthers have. The team languishing at the bottom, the Flyers, they were in a rut across the end of November, December. That win, a shootout win, regardless of what it is, a win is a win against Belfast. Yes, they had a tight one against the Panthers the next night, but like Gav said when he was on with us, the bus legs are a big thing. Tom Cullen talks a lot about the bus legs and the travel schedule for teams in his interviews. Will they come good? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if that's a playoff team, really.
They also had a bit of a good luck charm on Saturday night, as we've
that's it.
Right?
But that middle group, everything from 2nd to 9th, you could throw a blanket over them, and honestly, you could rearrange them in any particular order, and I would say, yeah, that's a fair reflection of where we are in the season this far. The Steelers just being the out-and-out dominant force is why they're where they are.
Yeah. So, Marty, you mentioned this earlier. Is it money?
Is it money?
Hey, Steelers aren't the only ones spending money now, boys.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in period 1. Guys, we are not going to talk about Challenge Cup just yet. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my attention to the standings over across the water in the NHL. We are currently in January 2024, so we're heading towards that point where these tables start to look a bit more interesting. We start to kind of feverishly look at these and looking at the playoffs.
I'm going to stop coming on to these podcasts every day. Every time I check it a couple of days before, the Flyers are in 3rd place. We're okay. We're up there. And then I join.
We are.
And then I check it.
Because
We're in
are
the
third.
wild card.
No, you're your third. You should. I'm about to run through it. Let me run through it first. Let me run through it.
Sorry, go for it. Go for it.
In this conference and Atlantic Division, we've got Boston Bruins sitting top still with 40 games played, 56 points. The Florida Panthers are in second with 40 games played and 54 points. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are in third with 38 games played, 49 points. In the Metropolitan Division, then, the New York Rangers sit top with 39 games played, 54 points. Carolina Hurricanes sit in second with 40 games played at 49 points. And the Philadelphia Flyers sit in third with 40 games played and 46 points. Aaron, you might need to change the date on the top there. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Wild card spots that are currently held by New York Islanders and Tampa Bay Lightning. Very closely followed, very closely followed, I should say, by the New Jersey Devils and Washington Capitals. Are kind of sitting around about the same amount of points. Actually, the next four are kind of sitting around quite close points to those wild card spots. Sitting over to the other side of the country, then in the Central Division, the western side of things, Winnipeg Jets are sitting top there with 40 games played, 58 points, followed by the Avalanche with 41 games played, 55 points, and the Dallas Stars are in third with 39 games played and 51 points. In the Pacific Division, then, Vancouver Canucks, for the first time I've seen their name up here in a while, are sitting first with 41 games played, 57 points. Vegas Golden Knights are in second with 40 games played, 51 points, and the LA Kings are in third with 37 games played, 47 points. The wild cards are held by Nashville, 41 games played, 45 points, and the Edmonton Oilers, 37-43. Boys, I mean, in terms of like things have changed. I would like to say like the top two teams for each division maybe haven't changed. Well, apart from that Pacific Division, Vancouver Canucks on a real hot streak at the moment with 41 games played, 57 points, 6 points clear of the next rivals, which is the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, it's I mean, what's that? I think goals for 160, goals against 107. I mean, they're playing pretty well at the moment. They've kind of took a wee run of form. Any other teams at the moment caught your attention that you've been watching? Not just your own team, obviously, but you can comment on your own team as well. John?
I'll say the one that surprised me has been the Caps. I think it's surprising to see them where they are. However, we know that they've been missing a little bit of firepower, and that is coming back. There was news today that Ovi is back on ice and is back in contact training. So he's likely to be back in the lineup fairly soon and back on his Gretzky hunt. So I think you're probably close to seeing the Caps start to move up again. And then also the Devils with Bedard having just taken his... I'm right, Bedard plays for the Devils.
Nope. Blackhawks.
Blackhawks, that's who it is. Well, he's out injured. He took a fairly nasty shot to the face, which resulted in a broken jaw, and they have just announced that he is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks minimum, having just had successful surgery to put his jaw back together again.
Yep.
That's tough for a rookie to come back from that. It'll be interesting to see how he skates when he comes back from that.
Talking of rookies, we will come back to one later on in period 2, and we're going to talk about Philadelphia Flyers and what's going on there with their rookie that they brought in from their draft, who hasn't even played for them. But we'll talk about that when we get to that point. But Aaron, I know you've switched your dates now, so you can clearly see the Philadelphia Flyers are sitting in third there still. I mean, coming onto you weren't here, I don't think, for the last podcast. I think you missed the last podcast because I think we were like, where is he? Because obviously they're sitting in really good point. I mean, you must be happy to see them currently sitting where they are.
Yeah, it's every season we go through this, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. This is going to be the season, and I don't mind that we're all the way down at the bottom of the table. But no, it's nice seeing them up. But it still can be touch and go. We've got some games that we've won. We lost, I think, 2 in the last 3 games. So obviously we can't take the pedal off the gas just yet, or the gas off the pedal just yet. But yeah, things are looking well. We've got good goalies in there and everything. So fingers crossed we keep you up there.
Indeed.
I think Fuzz is commenting there about the Devils.
Yeah, the Devils currently have, well, as he says there, 10 injuries for the Devils, New Jersey Devils, that is, not Cardiff. and 5 or 6 of them B-men, I think is what he said, injured. So everyone's taking injuries at the moment. But yeah,
Listen, it's the,
it is
it's the
going to be.
NHL. Nobody cares about regular season.
It will be an interesting run-in coming up now, because this is the time of year that I really enjoy. Not that I don't like the start of the season, but I like this part of the season when we get in towards that February, March time, when when you're starting to see the fights going on for those places, especially in those wild card spots. So it is definitely what we'll be keeping a focus on and keeping our eye on moving forward. I'm just happy to see that Toronto are still sitting in third there. Obviously, they making the big announcement this week with Nylander with his signing of his massive contract, which is keeping him on.
Did you see the breakdown of that and what the vast majority of his insane signing is? A signing bonus.
Yeah.
So he's walking away with that money immediately.
Yeah.
And then he's getting a few million every year. That is insane.
There is a bit of concern now, though, that obviously the deal that's been done with Nylander, the kind of people are like, well, where's that going to leave for Mitch Mariner? Where's that going to go in terms of like the signings for that, and how they're going to kind of look at his contract when it's coming up, and how is it going to be moving forward for him? But we'll see. It was good to see that they've decided to keep the services of Nylander. I'm a fan, and yeah, it's good to see.
I'm hoping next month. So today I got a confirmation that I might be heading over to Boston the first week of February, and there is a Boston's who were they playing? Calgary Flames game on a Tuesday night.
But you end up always going away, and something happens, and you end up not getting to go. So hopefully,
what always happens is that the it's the flights. It always changes or something like that. But if it's on a Tuesday, there's a good chance that I should be able to go. So hopefully we'll have a Belfast Giants jersey picture at the TD Arena,
TD Centre.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, guys. I think that's it for the standings. Let's get stuck into the main part of our show, and let's get stuck into our period 1 of hockey. Okay, period 1 is a roundup of stories from around here in the UK from all leagues. Boys, I'm going to start us off. We were talking already about obviously the leagues running, the league standings there, and how the league standings are split out. It has been quite a bit since our last podcast. Our last podcast before Christmas, and it's before the last of the Challenge Cup games, quarterfinal games took place. And I hemmed and had about what the title of this podcast would be called, and I kind of thought maybe don't adjust your devices, or there was some surprises in the quarterfinals, including the fact that for the first time since I want to say 2017, 18, somewhere around there, maybe Belfast Giants have been knocked out of the Challenge Cup in the quarterfinal stage, not progressing into the semi-finals for the first time in a long time.
What year did you say it was, Marty?
I think 2017, maybe 2018, maybe around then. Was that maybe I'm wrong? I can't remember.
Something like that. That wasn't the Nottingham disaster year, was it? That wasn't us taking the lead to the NIC. Was it a 2-goal lead or a 3-goal lead to the NIC and then getting absolutely hammered?
Hammered at home, yeah. I mean, boys, let's start with that first and foremost. I mean, as Giants fans, it's been joked around for a number of years that the Challenge Cup is the Kiefer Cup, because it was kind of the first ever cup that Kiefer, when he took over from the Belfast Giants, it was the first cup that he won as a professional cup, and he's held on to it for quite long with quite strong grip on it. We've destroyed 3 of those cups, I think, here in Belfast. I mean, if it doesn't hit, what's sort of say? It's been, I know we're removed from it, but I mean, it's a massive thing. It's massive.
Is this not the one that John always complains about, though?
Yes, of course. John, go with you first.
Challenge Cup sucks. I don't care unless we're winning it. You're 100% right. The biggest issue with how things went with the Challenge Cup is the manner in which we went out and the manner in which the team played through maybe not so much the group stage. That's always a bit of a given. considering that we tend to be lumped in, or we're always lumped in with the Scottish teams. So it's generally unlikely that we're going to be put out at the group stage. But the last couple of seasons, we've very much enjoyed the top seeding. So the little seeds of doubt were in there already whenever the Steelers took the top seed. And already we were starting to think, well, if it comes down to the Giants and Steelers, well, it's not in the SSE, it's going to be in Sheffield. Then to go through and basically tumble out of the Challenge Cup in the way that the Giants did, that's what's been heartbreaking. To then, I say tumble out, it effectively came to a shootout, I think, with Coventry in the end. But the team never felt like they were paying the Challenge Cup a whole pile of attention, which is, when you call it the Kiefer Cup, that's what was a bit more disappointing than anything, that room couldn't get up for the cup that had eluded Keith as a player and effectively had been his as a coach. We could have renamed it. In fact, I think in the next 20 years we probably should rename it as the Kiefer Cup. But to go from a Grand Slam to where the team currently is now, with not the potential to defend one of the 3 championships now, that's what's hit, and that's what hit the fan base, I think, more than anything. And unfortunately, we saw the horrible true nature of sports and sport fans, is when everything's going well, everyone's your best mate, especially within your own fan base. But when things start going wrong, then everyone starts pointing the finger at everyone, whether it's players, whether it's certain corners of the arena not being loud enough, whether it's questionable coaching, whatever it happens to be. The fan base just started to eat itself, which is not what we want to see. We want to see it from 9 other teams, but we don't want to see it from the team in teal. At the end of the day, we still have 2 trophies to go for, and I know we're talking about the Challenge Cup here. There's 4 teams that are still in on it. Couldn't really care less who gets it at this point.
So let me run through that quickly. So obviously the semi-finals have been set, and the first of those cup ties is on Saturday, the 20th of January, when the Guildford Flames travel up to Glasgow for the face off against the Glasgow Clan. And the second group, the second teams, the second leg of the second teams that have set matchup is the Steelers versus the Blaze, and that will take place on the 24th of January. So the first leg of that is in Coventry. I mean, you know, as you say, John, it is it's telling. It's probably the first place where you kind of see people who maybe previously who have said, like, joked around, like you've joked around word, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse Cup, or no interest in this cup, or whatever it is. It's not until teams get into that stage where they get to this point where there's like a gold on the line, there's gold right in front of them, they're nearly at it, they can nearly grab onto that gold, where they start going, you know what, it's not that much of a Mickey Mouse Cup as much as I thought it was. And I've seen certain fan bases doing that too. So, you know, it's interesting to see. It is gold at the end of the day. It is silverware. So, I mean, you're going to play for it. And just unfortunately, the Giants won't be there this year for that. So
listen, out of those four teams, you know what my dream final is? My dream final is Glasgow Sheffield in Sheffield, and Sheffield get humped by a Scottish team again for the second year running, but in their own building, and they end up having to sit and watch the Clan, who have been, we've said it time and time again on this podcast, that they have promised so much and delivered so little. If they can lift that trophy in Sheffield, then it would be absolutely fantastic. They've still got to get through the Flames first, but if anyone can do it above the Steelers, I would love it to be the Clan.
I would agree. Guys, let's move on. We talked about, obviously, we're going to stick with the Belfast Giants because obviously we're talking about the woes of the Belfast Giants and the fact that they've dropped out of the Challenge Cup for the first time in a long while. But obviously their performance to date, as you kind of said, John, has been quite questionable. A lot of fans have kind of, you know, made that very clear in terms of what they're thinking and what their thoughts are. We talked earlier on about the Sheffield Steelers and about money and spending money to kind of get to where they are, and fair play to them for having that money and spending that money in the way that they have. That's fine. You can do it if you have the money. Why not use it? The Belfast Giants seem to be following suit right now. Belfast Giants' first move was for obviously bring in old player from previous season in Ericsson coming in, and the Giants have moved again this week and have released Preston from his contract with the Belfast Giants to announce later on that day, which wasn't very secretive because everybody knew it was happening because I think it was already out there. And that was the announcement that David Goodwin, previous captain of the Belfast Giants, was back with the club. And that was obviously Will Cullen as well, should we say, has he's brought back too. Sorry, we should say Will Cullen has been signed back to the Belfast Giants as well. But they also announced then that there was a departure from the Belfast Giants. Who, there's been a lot of coming and going. John, do you want to kick off with that?
First one, let's talk about Curran. Let's talk about the release of Curran. All the chat was that he was going to head to Glasgow, actually. But what he's actually done is head back to Coventry, where he has had an immediate impact. I want to say 1, maybe 2 game-winning goals over his first weekend back. There was at least 1 game-winning goal his first game back. Man of the match performance, and some elite level chirping online from him as well. Someone on X, I think, put down, "Why were you garbage in Belfast?" And his response, so he was doing a Q&A using the Coventry X handle. He's doing a takeover. But rather than do it with the Coventry user, he did it with his own and said, "I think you'll find that my play corresponds to how close a Witherspoon's is." And so therefore, apparently he's great, but he's absolutely done that fan in with that one. But yeah, the departure of Curran, I think, was the start of what everyone knew needed to be done. And then the couple of signings coming in has been very much lauded. We all know that there's one more that we want. Whether it comes or not, we'll soon find out, I suppose.
I mean, it's interesting in that the initial press release has been changed, but the initial press release for whenever they announced David Goodwin, it basically talked about, well, it was supposed to say Quinn Preston. It was supposed to say in the initial. It says it now, but in the initial one, it actually had details for a different player that was released. And people were kind of like, so which player was being released? Did the Giants accidentally release information about a player that's going to be going soon? So I don't know if that was just a really big, massive typo or a big mistake that was accidentally made, and someone's all like, "Oh, that I shouldn't have put that name shouldn't be in there." But yeah, I mean, like the biggest thing to take away from it is obviously David Goodwin, standout player for us, especially this season than the previous season than when he was here. I mean, it's good to see that familiarity back. I guess
where had he gone to again?
Spain, I believe. I think, was it Spain? Yeah.
Yep.
I think he's just having a nice winter break in Spain before he came back to the colder area of Belfast. But I mean, with his 3 spells with the Belfast Giants, 211 points, 76 and 57 games, treble winning season, played 10 games in Spain this season, 21 points overall. I mean, from a point of view of steadying the ship in terms of giving the fans something to shout about and be joyful for and be happy about is probably one thing to kind of help with that. And also two, just to kind of maybe add a bit of stability into the locker room in terms of having someone there who knows what he needs to be a Belfast Giant and to represent the city and everything else. It's a good move in terms of, I believe it's a good move just because I'm a big fan of Goodwin. Do we think this is kind of the start of something that kind of help ease people's, this interest, or what am I trying to say? People's disheartened experiences at the moment that they're having with Giants?
I think it's a way of the Giants steadying the ship. I think we know that we can only have 2/3 of the success that we had last season. There are still 2 trophies to play for. Now, I said earlier on that it's going to take something special for the Steelers at this point not to win the league. Is that something special? David Goodwin and Will Cullen? It could be. Do we need that extra gold star signing that I keep alluding to? More than likely. We need goals, and we know where our goals came from in the Grand Slam season. But David Goodwin brings and Will Cullen bring a lot of potential. They bring a lot of play making. They bring a lot of leadership to a team that is finding itself a little bit adrift at the minute. David, while he's not going to, more than likely not going to wear a C or an A this season, is going to be part of that leadership group, being no doubt about it. He will be a leader in that locker room. And from the sounds of it, that is exactly what this locker room needs. I think if I was looking at targets, you're never going to say die on the league right now, but I would be surprised if the management team in Belfast don't have one eye on playoffs already.
Yep.
The word that you said there that kind of resonates with me is leadership. It's leadership and mentorship. You know, the previous captain, he's there within the team to just have another ear to help guide the team and themselves. And Mari, I think you hinted at this as well. I think it also helps with the fan base as well. Having two well-known names come back. You both said it. Steady the ship, settle the nerves a little bit. Take it from this point, move forward, and see where we can get to.
Yeah,
Yep.
Definitely. Let's move on. John, I'm going to come to you for either one of your stories. So let's move ahead with one of your stories then. I think you've got 3 actually in there, so you go ahead with whatever one you want to go with.
Let's stay Elite League and let's go Steelers for a second. Let's talk about this past weekend in Sheffield. We all know that Sheffield loves a 50-50 competition, but we didn't know just how much they loved a 50-50 competition. Young lady walked away with a GB record-breaking 50-50 prize pot. £19,999 was what.
So that's how much she walked. So it was a $40,000 pot. But she walked away with pretty much.
She walked away with 19,999. And when I say she walked away with 19,999, she actually walked away with a bag of £19,999.
How nervous would you be walking around, even walking to the car? It's so big. How can that be 20 grand? That's a tiny little envelope.
Depends on the size of the note.
But I love the fact that like they showed her face, they showed her getting her bag, and this is probably all on the big screen. And I like someone underneath was all like, I hope someone escorted her out and home safely.
Security.
But no, the Steelers did say that she was looked after getting out of the arena and all the rest of it. Honestly, if that was me, I'd be having G4S on the phone and saying, look, can you guys get a car and kind of follow her home and make sure she gets back all right? But yeah, I mean, £1. You would think that like maybe someone in the arena would just give her £1 and say she won 20 grand.
Isn't that
Surely?
wasn't that 1p? 9999.
No.
Wouldn't that be what?
How can it be 1p if it's the 50-50, mate?
9999. Oh yeah. Sorry.
It would be a 50. It would be a 50 or a round pound.
Yeah, pound. Sorry, pound. Ignore me. It's been a long day. Yeah, I mean, fair play to her. And also, wow, but like, what amount of money? It's actually, do you know what? Though it's one of those competitions that, it's one of those competitions in the arenas that I never pay. I never take part in 50-50 ever. I think I'd done it maybe in my first season going to the Belfast Giants nearly 17 years ago now. I think maybe I done 50-50 the odd time back then at the very start. But I've never done it. Like I don't do 50-50. It's not something I do. But imagine just walking in, especially over this period just after Christmas and stuff, and walking in, putting down your couple of quid on your 50-50 and walking away with 20 grand. I mean, that's fair play. It's great.
What is their capacity?
It's epic.
13,000 capacity of an arena.
Well, this is why the question was raised, and this is why people then were kind of like, okay, so let me try and work out what this means. So there's £40,000 spent on 50-50, and there was 13,000 or 12,000 pound, or 12,000 fans, or 13,000 fans in the arena. How much would each fan have had to pay? And then they're like, and also if they're kids, how do the kids get to pay that amount of money out? So are we saying that each person put in? So there's all these people trying to work out how much money people would have been putting in, and then there was all these whole big rumors about. Then there was all these like rumors and all these like conspiracies that there was like a unknown sponsor who was putting money in, like a sponsor of the team.
Yeah, so they were saying that the pot was inflated with sponsor money, which is nonsense. Now, to give them credit, Dave Sims did come out and say that it's a big amount. There was no sponsor money, and to be honest, if you're saying that sponsor money's been put into 50-50, give yourself a wobble, because what company, what sponsor is just going to, that is just giving money away. Like that,
Yeah.
they're not going to do that. But it was also a rollover, so there had been an unclaimed prize previous to this, and it was a rollover, hence why it went so high. So when you put all that into perspective, yes, it's completely understandable why it got that high. And look, Sheffield, amongst all the teams in the Elite League, love and push their 50-50. We have criticised them in the past because above other messaging and above everything else, there is always the message of 50-50 on sale. As soon as you get in, talk to our volunteers. Oh, by the way, bring cash. That we always kind of slate them for that. But look, you can't argue with results. That girl's walked away with 20 grand. Fair play to her.
Yeah.
Rollover, that's a magic word. You advertise rollover to me, I'm going to buy a ticket. Euro Millions?
Is that how Euro Millions? Euro Millions. That's how the Euro Millions gets me. It's like, it's just like, oh, it's just been won. I'm like, I have no interest, and then it like rolls over and it's 100,000 million or whatever, and you're like, yep, I'm in. I'm winning the whole thing. John, do you want to move on to your next story?
Yeah, can do. So very, very quick one, this. I just wanted to put this out there. This was Scottish Ice Hockey put an interesting little thing out on their social media in the last couple of days. And it's a poll on whether you would attend a Scotland v England senior SNL versus NIHL game. And whether you would do an under-23 Scotland v England game, or if you've got any other comments or suggestions. Now, what's interesting here is that they're suggesting essentially a nations competition, a nations cup between Scotland and England. Obviously, those being the two governing bodies that we have at the minute within the game. There's the Scottish body and the English body. The vote to unify was obviously shot down. So the two exist. I think Northern Ireland and Wales, do they come under England at the minute? Or or does Northern Ireland maybe come under Scotland?
Probably as players, yeah.
Either way, they're putting it out there and saying, look, if we were to host this one-off competition, would you attend? Let's be honest, we all know it would be in Dumfries, or possibly in Solway, given how big they've been recently since joining the NIHL. What would your thoughts be on that?
As in, would we attend?
Do you know what?
Would you go? Would you go to Scotland v England?
The thing is, do you know what though? This is the thing, right? If you remember back, for anybody who attended the Elite Ice Hockey Playoff Finals weekend, that third place game as it is now,
Chunder Cup.
The Chunder Cup used to actually have used to be actually well attended because people used to come along to watch the England Scotland game, because that's exactly what they used to do. They used to have an England versus Scotland game. In that third place, it was an under 23s. I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was definitely an England versus Scotland game in that third place game instead of that third place Chunder Cup game. And it was really well attended. There was like where it comes to playoffs now, there's a consideration I would give to just be like, when someone says to me, oh sure, we'll just go for breakfast and we'll just chill and we'll maybe go head down to the game. Right now I'm kind of like, yeah, let's just do it. We'll get to the game whenever we get to the game. But back when they used to do the England versus Scotland games as part of the playoff final weekend, Dave will tell you, if Dave was here, Dave will tell you, we would make sure that we were down at the arena for that game kicking off or facing off, because they were always great games and I enjoyed watching them. So yeah, I mean, I think
it's a fair point. That's
handy.
Part of a bigger event, a bigger weekend. Like if it was a stat, like if they positioned it like that, where it was at the playoff weekends as extra games, that's going to be well attended. But if it's not, if it's a standalone game, a standalone weekend by itself, would you fly out?
Probably not. But then I'm not over there. If I was over maybe there in that direction, yeah, I would go. But yeah,
do you know what? And I knew this when I asked you. It's unfair to ask you guys because, let's be totally honest, unless you're invested in it, unless you've probably got someone you know who's playing, you're probably not going to travel to that.
Would you go?
No.
If it's in Dumfries or Solway, no. That's still 3 hours of travel. Marty, do you want me to kick on with the last one that I've got here?
Hold on. Did you vote? Did you actually submit your answers?
Here, I'll tell you what. I'll wait and see what the jerseys are like, and then I'll vote.
Good call.
Guys, I'm going to stick with an NIHL swing to things, if you don't mind, with this last one. In a statement that was put out this week and then taken down for some fairly obvious reasons, the Blackburn Hawks have put out a statement regarding an assault on one of their players during a game against the D-side Dragons in the second intermission of that game. Now, since then, we understand that this has been passed to the police and there is an ongoing investigation, hence why the Blackburn Hawks statement has since been taken down. You can still find it if you want to. Basically, just go and have a hunt and you'll find it very, very quickly. The incident has been passed to North Wales Police, who are investigating. The most interesting part of this is that the Blackburn Hawks and their operating owners, if you like, have said that they will not allow entry to their facility to the player from D-side who is accused of this assault. So essentially they're saying to the D-side Dragons that regardless of what happens here, this guy's not coming into the building to play us. That's an interesting take, isn't it? I mean, we're back at this when is it hockey, when is it not?
Yeah, 100%. And in this case, I think this is a clear-cut case of it is a police incident, a police matter, and it's not a hockey incident and a hockey matter. I think this clearly
didn't occur on the ice, right?
This clearly blurs. I think this clearly blurs that line. I think this clearly crosses that line, to be fair, into what it is, and why it's being investigated as an assault. This is a case of one player going for another player outside of the remit of what's happening on the ice. Now, if he had have assaulted him or fought him on the ice, would it have been any better? You know,
in game, you on the ice, you can say you've got rules that govern this. It's 5 minutes for fighting. It's a misconduct for unwilling opponent. It's whatever it is. You have a case book. You have a rule book with this. With this one, because the insinuation is that it happened in the tunnel area leading to the dressing rooms, that is off the ice. It's now outside of the remit of the officials. The game is no longer underway, so hence the reason I assume, and I would also expect that based on the initial statement, the severity of what seems to have happened is why the Hawks have deemed to make a statement that they have, and to involve the police. So it's one that I think certainly we will keep an eye on. But I think for now we're probably best moving on without making too much more of a statement on something that's currently being actively investigated.
Yeah, I'm sure if anything comes out of it, we will have it for the next podcast. And as I say, we've already alluded to it, but 4,000 and counting, and also banners, obviously, will probably touch upon this story too. So you can check out there for more detailed information and more detailed analysis of what took place. The last story I have for this period is a story that was actually announced today. And
Look at news happening on the day that we podcast rather than the day after.
Do you know what? There's likely something going to happen in the middle of the. Hopefully, you're still checking Twitter at this time or X.
Oh, I am.
We're on because it usually happens while we are recording, and we are recording a day earlier than normal. So, more likely something will happen tomorrow because obviously it's usually Thursday that we record. So I'm sure some other stuff will happen. But in terms of the news from today, this was the news of a new development, a new ice arena being planned for Trafford City in Manchester. It's a major program of building going on, which will be run by Planet Ice. We know Planet Ice. We know there's a lot of concern whenever Planet Ice is mentioned, but it has been touted as the biggest venue in the UK with a multi-purpose purpose-built facility set to feature an ice rink which can be converted into a multi-use event space. The biggest thing, I suppose, that came out of this announcement today was the fact that the Manchester Storm, very early on this morning, before the announcement was actually officially probably made, Manchester Storm put out a tweet or an X that basically said something along the lines of "Congratulations to Planet Ice," something along the lines of creating development or something along those lines. The tweet had said, and people were actually jumped on. Were like, did someone take over the Storm's Twitter account this morning? Is this real? So it has led now, I suppose, with the announcement that this has been made today, that this will be created. This will create, like, obviously a massive new center and a new ice arena, which will probably take about 12 to 15 months. So we're talking probably about a year and a half before it comes into anywhere near completion. I suppose people's attention has turned to the idea of what will this mean for the Manchester Storm and this new rink. Will we be seeing something announced by the end of this season, maybe the start of next season, to say that the Manchester Storm will be basically packing their bags from Altrincham and moving more central to this Trafford City? What do you guys think, John?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Altrincham is already Planet Ice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, it is.
So the expectation here would be that Altrincham closes.
Well, no, they've said that they're planning to invest in Altrincham once this new site and facility has been opened. It'll allow them to basically, I suppose, renovate and do what they need to do to Altrincham. So I think there's been a thing there to say that there is a plan to update and invest in the Altrincham site. Now they've said they're going to invest in the Altrincham site, but they haven't said exactly what that's going to be. But do we think that that's possibly going to be it? If this is going to be a larger arena rink kind of idea with more seating, is this something that we're going to see in terms of Manchester moving across?
Well, my worry would be are the Storm as a franchise in a position to fill an arena of that size? Are they a team? Are they an organisation that are set up ready to take on a place the size of the likes of Belfast, Sheffield and Nottingham? And I'm not entirely sure that they are, because you don't very often hear them selling out the Drizzle Dome. You're not in the days of the original Storm. You're not in the days of even the Phoenix. And to be honest, that would be my other concern: is do we see the latest in a long line of resurrections of another franchise in Manchester trying to dip its toe in the market in Manchester, and trying to force decisions to be made? Do we end up with a franchise war in Manchester, the same way that we had before with the Storm arriving over the back of the Phoenix? I'm not entirely sure. Is Manchester also a market for ice hockey in this way? I think, does the MEN still hold the record for the biggest British ice hockey crowd? So there used to be draw, but there was a lot of travelling fans would have been involved in that as well. I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be asked there. Obviously, the Storm are currently in with new owners. Has this new ownership change been something that's been brewing in the background with this decision for a development of an arena in Manchester? Maybe it is. Maybe Finner and Mrs. Finner have played a blinder here. Maybe this is part of them taking over. Yes, we get tenancy rights, we get franchise rights in this new rink. I think one of the biggest problems that you've got with all of this is that Planet Ice are involved. To say, for a start, they're going to build this brand new rink and arena. They're going to invest in Altrincham, and I know that Anthony, for one, will be sitting at it looking at it. I know he's posted online today about it as well. You've got Basingstoke and you've got multiple other sites that are crying out for investment, attention, repair and renovation. Maybe look at what you've got before building something else.
What do you think any chances of an expansion being?
They're not going to get two franchises in Manchester.
No
chance.
It's not happening.
No.
I think you'll see a team in Dublin before you see two teams in Manchester.
I think you're right, John. I think in some ways you're right in terms of, I think is it for a lot of ice hockey and not even just ice hockey, for other ice sports and other ice events that happen across the whole of the UK. So we're talking about figure skaters here. We're talking about probably like sled hockey. We're talking about all of these recreational teams and stuff as well. So not just the professional teams. You look at the teams who and those people who rely on their local rinks who are all run by Planet Ice and how they're starting to kind of become dilapidated and run down. I've seen images over the Christmas period of pretty much mold and damp forming in like Basingstoke and over in the corners and
Yep.
loads of stuff because it hasn't been kept up to date and people haven't been looking after the building, and I just completely disrepair. And you kind of think to yourself, yeah, you're right. You know, should the focus have been on there before they announced this massive project that's going to take place? Maybe there's investment that's came in somewhere and that's why it's happening in this Trafford City kind of idea and this whole development that's going on down there. But I think, you know, given the fact that Manchester's history now, we could say that this is not the same Manchester Storm of old, but you know, if we look at the Manchester Storm and Manchester history of ice hockey in Manchester, I mean, obviously we know Manchester ice hockey scene was massive at one stage, obviously having the MEN Arena as their main arena for their games. I mean, do we see that this new ownership creating kind of this buzz around ice hockey again in Manchester and creating the need for this larger sized rink that's going to be built? Now, we don't know if it's going to be an arena size. We don't know what size it's going to be because obviously it's in the early stages of planning. So we'll see what that looks like. But idea would be maybe, I think,
an arena, right? It's going to be something like the O. It's going to have.
No, I think it's going to be more. No, I think it's
like that.
I think it's going to be more along the idea of what the Vindigo ice rink, Vindigo Arena or Vindigo, whatever they're calling it down in Wales, where Cardiff play. I think it's going to be more based on that style and that idea. We have a multi-purpose space, which obviously has the ice rink as their main facility. So I don't think we're going to see a massive arena. It's not going to be an arena-sized kind of thing.
Well, I think it is. They're using the word arena. And,
are they using arena?
Yep, they're using the word arena and develop a new ice arena. And I think they're talking about 6,000 seats.
But then you have to think about the fact that like Cardiff is pegged as an arena, and that's not a rink. So you know, we're thinking
when you say that they're talking about roughly 6,000 seats, that's on par with us and getting. Okay. It's nowhere near Sheffield and Nottingham, but you're getting close to SSE size.
Yeah, I guess. Yep. We'll wait and see. I guess I'm sure more will come out on this story. Boys, that's
an investment in ice is investment in ice.
Exactly. See, look at you putting the positive in as always.
Yep, and look, we didn't put it in the running order, but Dave through today, whenever we saw this story come out today, he found a new story which actually came out of Ireland today about where is the investment gone in the Dublin rink. There's investors sitting shovel ready, apparently, waiting to build an ice rink, an ice arena, a multi-purpose arena in Dublin. It's all gone very quiet. It would be great to see. And yes, we've spoken before about what the issues it creates to have a second potential Elite League franchise in Ireland, but it would still be great to see another ice pad.
100%.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Boys, that's it for this period, but we do have 2 penalties to talk about in the penalty section, so I'm just going to throw up our penalty box segment and we can talk about those. John, I'm passing it to you. You were the one that threw these in, so I'll let you lead on these. So you can start off with the first one.
Yep, very, very quickly, just to go through these guys. So just before the new year, the 31st of December, Miles McGurty of the Nottingham Panthers was given a 2-game suspension for kneeing. My opinion, guys, 2 games probably right, could easily have been more. It's fairly blatant, hanging out the knee. Is there an intent to injure? There's definitely an intent to get involved in the play by throwing the knee out there. It is a dangerous play. He's not a repeat offender. To me, 2 games seems about right. We haven't seen too many in the way of kneeing penalties this season, so we don't really have much to go on about what DOPs are seeing on tiers as far as this is concerned. But yeah, 2 games. Any complaints on that one?
No, I think it's clean cut, that one.
Yeah, I think my only query on that one would be the fact that there was an injury on the play. So whether it maybe should have had more based on that, I don't know. But we'll wait and see what the next kneeing penalty, whenever it comes in, probably gets 8 games or something, and we've got absolutely no reason, no understanding of why. The second one then was Chris McKay. He was suspended for cross-checking. He's a Dundee Stars player. Suspended from a game on the 6th of January, so just 4 days ago. This was a 3-game suspension for cross-checking. Guys, this for me is the more serious of these penalties. He goes to cross check. It's a calculated move, and he gets Luciani very high.
Is it like the neck? The neck up?
Neck, jaw sort of area. Like it's a pretty brutal cross check, this one. He's going with the stick. He's using it as a weapon. It's pretty grim. Now, he's been given 3 games because he is a repeat offender. Now, to me, the manner in which this penalty is conceded, that's equal to 3 games on its own, to me. If he's a repeat offender, I think I'd be tacking on another one on top of that. I think this is easily 4 games. I think he's gotten away with that one.
Yeah, like if you compare it to the knee, I'm not saying knee can be just as dangerous sometimes, but that looks so much more violent, I guess, than
I just think it's a dangerous play, and it's a completely unnecessary play.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, just looking at that play and watching it, you can like the fact that you do wince a bit when you watch it. You can see how reckless it is in terms of just how violent it looks. And as you say, I think with the fact that like there has been maybe they say 1 extra game, but I think 2 games. If they're saying then that was worthy of a 2-game suspension and not a 3-game suspension on its own, I'm really surprised because I do feel like it was quite a tough. I think it deserved more in my opinion as well.
Yep. That's it for tops.
That's it. Well, then that means that's it for our period 1. So let's get stuck into our period 2 of hockey.
Oh, it's me. Isn't it me? Because Dave's not here. Welcome to period 2 of hockey.
Dave's not here, man.
Dave's not here, man. I always forget that. I always forget it. Sorry, you didn't set me up. Period 2 of hockey, where we look at international hockey anywhere across the pond and further that's just not in the UK. As always, I have done a huge amount of homework for this, and we have quite a few stories from John and Marty. Marty, do you want to hit us off with one of your stories first?
Yep. Let me start off, I suppose, with the one that was hitting the news most and the one that was being talked about most from the new year starting. And this was obviously the launch and the starting of the PWHL, so the Pro Women's Hockey League. It started there in the new year. Started off to a massive fanfare, and I think it's taken people by surprise. I don't think people knew what they were expecting. I don't know what people's expectations were going into the start of this season, this inaugural season launching. Now, we've had a talk about this league and about the inaugural season and how we dislike the idea of the fact that like each team didn't really have their own unique identity because all they were doing was having a jersey with like the Minnesota or wherever it was were from along across the front of their jersey. Let's not get focused on that. Let's focus on the fact that the style of play and everything that's been happening in the PWHL from day one has taken people by surprise. So anybody who went in thinking, oh, it's not going to be physical, it's not going to be full contact, it's not going to be as rough and ready, and it's not going to be as whatever it was, boy, are you is your face red, because it has been phenomenal. If you've watched any of the games at all, you'll see just how cutthroat this league has been so far. Full hits, full contact, full smashing, everything going on. But also obviously with a new league means that as we kind of move through this season as it is in the inaugural season, we'll start to see new records being set as we go along. That first record that has been set was obviously from Minnesota, who have set a record for crowds in having the attendance of 13,316 people at their game this past weekend in the XL Energy Center. The previous record was the previous Tuesday at a sold-out arena in TD Place in Ottawa with 8,318, and in which Montreal, which is Montreal's arena, if you didn't know. I mean, guys, we're going to be moving forward, and we're going to be seeing, obviously hat tricks as well being mentioned. The first hat trick was scored as well in the Minnesota game, I believe. I mean, first off, I suppose the first question to ask is, have either of you had a chance to take in even highlights or any parts of the PWHL? John?
Yeah, so I've been able to catch some highlights of it, and yeah, like you said, setting it all up. The games have been physical. The games have been high skilled, and people are turning out for the games. That's the biggest thing. 13,000 fans. I mean, that's a playoff final weekend for the Elite League. That's a sellout in Sheffield. That's a sellout in, or close to a sellout in Nottingham. So to get that is just fantastic, and it's no less than all of these ladies deserve. They deserve these crowds. They deserve the accolades that come with it because they put in as much work as the guys do into their game. We've just seen the Friendship Series return to Belfast, and while we may personally have some issues about the manner in which the game or the games were maybe put out there and the press coverage that was done prior to it, we know that the quality of hockey was fantastic. We know that having college level hockey of that grade in Belfast, whether it's men's or women's, is fantastic. So to see the PWHL going as well as it is in its first couple of weeks is fantastic. The one thing I will say is they've got to sort those jerseys because they're god awful.
No, we said we're not going to talk about it. We're gonna give them the bye ball for the Hoggies today and let them just be amazing at what they're doing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it has started off so strong, and I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. And it was the Boston game that I had watched, and I did genuinely. It was the Minnesota Boston game that I watched part of that, and I did enjoy every part of it I watched. And as you said, John, we had this past weekend, and I was in attendance down to the SSA Arena for this Friendship Series, and yeah, I mean, we can talk about our disappointment in the lead up to the tournament, in that it felt like it was a very, I suppose, unbalanced way of promoting the women's games, Friendship Series games, compared to what happens when it comes to the Friendship 4 men's games that are here. You could argue, obviously, there's 4 teams and therefore there's maybe double the amount of energy put into it, but it shouldn't be the case. I just felt that it was very much like the level of competition that was going on that ice on Saturday afternoon was amazing. It was such a great game, fast paced, brilliant play. Everybody was really interacting with it. Everybody took part, and everybody was really intrigued by the game. But clearly there's only one half of the arena that was used, and the other side was pretty much empty. There's a little splattering of people here and there, but it was pretty empty around one half of the arena. And again, it's just a matter of it just felt like parts, like I was trying to promote it to people that I know. Was like, oh, there's a free game on this weekend, a women's game on this weekend. If you get down, bring the kids down, it's early and whatever it was. But they're like, well, we didn't hear anything about it. But that's the case, like very little. And there's a few scout groups there, but there's nothing apart from that.
Yeah, you're right. It feels like the Friendship 4's afterthought, and it really shouldn't.
No.
I remember going to the first Friendship Series, and I would honestly say that the level of compete was exactly the same, if not slightly higher, than what we were seeing in the Friendship 4. I think the women's teams grasped the opportunity of playing away from North America quicker than what the men did. I think the men's teams, they understood the occasion, but maybe didn't grab it with both hands in the same way that the girls have, and it was absolutely fantastic. And if I do get the opportunity to, and this is the biggest thing, if I get the opportunity to bring my daughter to those games when she's a little bit older, I absolutely will, because I want her to see that girls and women can fill arenas in exactly the same way that men do. And I want to see more effort done to do that and fill that arena for those games because they deserve it.
100%.
And Marty, as you said, like 13,000, over 13,000 attendees. That's amazing. Like that's a 20K 50-50 ticket right there.
You could make arguments, and I did see this commented somewhere that you could make arguments that the reason why it was such a large crowd is because obviously it was in Minnesota, home of hockey. There's an argument had.
But you know what? If people aren't interested, they're not going to come because they're not going to part with their cash for it. There is clearly a market for the women's game, so take it and run with it, and build the game. It deserves it.
And next year we'll see those better jerseys.
So
We
before
will.
we move on to any NHL stories, John, you have a nice wee story for us there about the CHL.
Yeah, so the Champions Hockey League, just again, this is a competition that the Giants are no longer in, so we only really sort of half care. But I thought it was worth mentioning that they have reached the semi-final stage, with the first semi-final being Geneva Servette. Marty, I bet you're glad you're not having to say these team names. With Luka Rama, who I think at this point are probably one of the two favourites heading in or to head to the final. And Vitkovic Ridera, I absolute apologies to anyone who's from there, and Skellefteå, who we know quite well. They've played their first games. They played them on the 9th of January, which was yesterday if you're watching live. So Vitkovic Ridera and Skellefteå, after the first game, it is 4-2 to Skellefteå. With Luka and Geneva being tied 2 apiece after one game. The return games will take place on the 16th of January, so next Tuesday, and after that we will know who the finalists are heading in for the CHL trophy, which, to be honest, looks like the trophy that a 6-year-old draws. Like, it is the most trophiest looking trophy I've ever seen. Like, it is fantastic, but it is the trophy of trophies.
I love that, the trophiest looking trophy.
Oh, it really is. It really is the trophiest looking trophy in trophy world.
Very good. Very good. Well, we have 2 more stories for this period, both on the NHL. Marty, you've got one about the Flyers there.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting one, which has been doing the rounds. I think this pretty much kicked off yesterday. So this is January 9th. We're on obviously January 10th today. Sorry. So this kicked off from the fact that we know that the Flyers this past draft picked a young and up and coming young player called Cutter Guthrie, who was then asked to basically pretty much, well, hadn't started for the Flyers, but was basically placed down to, I suppose, become more seasoned playing college hockey and university style hockey. And he was given the opportunity then to basically go off and kind of hone his skills a bit more before coming in for his first pro season. However, between then and now, something has happened in the way that the young player has decided that he decided in the end that he doesn't actually want to be a Flyer. He doesn't want to be involved with the Flyers in any way. Wow. And made it very clear after the championships there that took place over the January season, over December, January, ignored calls from the Flyers who were trying to get in touch with them, supposedly, and made it clear that he had no intention of basically ever putting on the Flyers colors, the black and orange for the Flyers. So instead, the Flyers have moved to trade him away, and that trade happened this week. So they traded off Cutter to, I suppose, cut their ties, I suppose, with him. So try to get something out of it. It's an interesting story. I felt just having the fact that, like, you have this young up and coming, player. We've seen how they make such massive differences for other teams. We look at this year, we look at Bedard and how he's made an impact down there in Chicago. And Flyers obviously looking ahead and thinking, well, we have something similar in this young player that we're hoping will be able to come in after the World Juniors and start kind of looking in where it's going to go with us. I mean, what's the thinking here? What's happened, do we feel?
There's been different talk about sort of the whys about it, ranging from, was it an internal decision by Philly? Was it to do with his entry-level agreement, whether he was going to go to the A before he came up to the National? Some people even suggested that he wants nothing to do with John Tortorella. And like a lot of people have said that we might find out. He's been traded to Anaheim, so it's now up to Anaheim what they do with him. Does he go to their affiliates? Does he go down 1 or 2 leagues to get ready? Does he ever play in the National? You've got to assume that if they've traded for him, they expect him to play in the National. But now it's up to him. Does he ever come clean about what's happened here? We just don't know. It'll be interesting to follow him.
Well, as Marty said, it happened this from apparently from several sources happened. It predates like May of last year, and it's only kind of coming about.
It's weird
No.
because obviously whenever it was all announced and he signed on, he was saying at the time he had said, "I'm only too happy to be a flyer and to stick on that flyer, those Flyers colours, and fully commit to the Flyers organization." And then obviously this came out where it was basically like where they've tried to get him over during the junior world championships, or winter there this as I said, which just took place, couldn't get him or whatever it was, and then after that this announcement has been placed where it looked like the Flyers jumped in first and said, right, well, this is our decision made, but then there's all these other rumors going around to say, basically, as you say, John, that Tortorella is maybe an aspect. There was also something going around that Tortorella had made some comment about, well, if he doesn't want to be a Flyer, it's his loss. It's kind of like a.
I mean, that's the most John Tortorella thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. So it's just like, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one, and I don't know if much more is going to come out of it. But as you say, maybe something will come out more. Maybe we'll find out more in the coming days. But I thought it was a very interesting one, and it was worth just quickly mentioning.
Certainly, and as a Flyers fan, I'll be keeping an eye on it because, as you say, new blood is always good to have. John, you have a really cool one to finish off for this period.
Yeah, knowing fine rightly that if he was here, Dave probably would have been talking all about this one. So back on January 7th, January 6th, actually, in a game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Minnesota Wild were trailing by 1, about a minute and a half to go in the third, and did what any team does at that point in the game and decided to pull the netminder. So Fleury is making his way to the benches for the extra attacker. But he notices, I'm not joking, as he is approaching the bench, that the Blue Jackets are about to turn up ice and go on the empty net. Fleury, I don't know how, manages to throw himself in front of the shot on the empty net and deflects it. But that's not the craziest part of the whole thing. Off that broken play, the Minnesota Wild come up ice and level the game. They then go on to win the game in OT.
No way.
That is, no pun intended, wild.
Look at you.
It's a beautiful thing to see a 50-year-old player being able to do such moves. Have you seen?
Yeah, he took a bit of a. I think it was the next game was his 1000th. I think.
Yeah.
And he got a bit of a ribbon. He got the solo treatment as he came out for warm-ups, which he wasn't overly pleased about. I saw him shoot a puck down the tunnel when he skated back round and realised that he'd been left to skate out on the ice on his own during the next game. But the entire passage of play on this one is just mental, and it's just another feather in Fleury's cap. His wherewithal, he is skating at the same rate towards the goal as the attacking player from Columbus.
In all that,
to be able to get, I don't know what he does. I don't know if he gets the stick on it or a pad. It doesn't matter what he gets on it. His ability to get something on that puck while he's diving through the air is just insane. The fact that it then leads to a tying goal
as well.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
I mean, me and Dave were talking about this, talking about Fleury there at the last Giants game that we both were attending, which wasn't this week before. It's probably after this game actually, and we were talking about the fact that Fleury is one of those players who will be 100% in the Hockey Hall of Fame without a doubt. But he's kind of like that modern day variation of we talk about the greats like Marty Brodeur and stuff and how he had a massive impact on the game and whatever it is. But for me, this man for me has always been impressed. No matter where he's been, when he was in Vegas, now that he's moved here to Wild, but even before he got to those stages, before he even went to Vegas and everything, he's just been one of those standard players for me. He has personality coming out of buckets. But also, at this age, still playing still at this point, and still producing. I mean, great player.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding, and a great way to finish off the period.
Indeed, Marty, that's us. And a period 2. If you want to move on to period 3,
well, indeed.
Period 3 is our general knocky news.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to say it there.
It's fine.
Knocky News is where we talk about anything and everything else in the world of hockey that doesn't fit neatly into period 1 or period 2, or sometimes we just throw some stuff in here because 1 and 2 are already too full. And I think that's pretty much the case this time as we look at what's in Knocky News. There's only a couple of stories here to round out the podcast. We're going to start with just before Christmas. We've seen the Teddy Toss period in the Elite League as teams look to gather soft toys and other things to take to those people who need them around the Christmas period. Just a few days ago in the AHL, the Hershey Bears, the well-known Hershey Bears, known for their Teddy Toss, Marty, they had a night of it.
They did. Not surprisingly, they set another new record for their teddy bear toss. This year, they recorded 74,599 stuffed animals thrown on and around the ice. I mean, it's just utter chaos when it comes to this thing for the Bears.
How could you watch this video and not smile?
It's amazing. Like, do you know what? Like, it's the highlight of the year. They know, fine rightly, that people buy into this every single year, and rightly so. And it's they've just done another. They just hit another record again this year. But it's always fun to watch. You know, as soon as that goal goes in and those Bears come in, and I always love it because you always have. Although it didn't happen in Belfast this year, you always have someone who carries the giant, massive bird that clearly needs like 7 people to lift up over the plexi. And there's a couple of those in around the arena, but there's one that you can see at the end of the video that we're currently watching where they're literally getting help, kind of getting it thrown over the plexi. The other bit that I love is whenever they have them all lined up and the players all kind of pretty much just jump into the Bears. And there's another bit of the video which we'll post. I'm sure you've all seen it though. There is another bit of the video where you can see where there's a fan who's down by the front of the plexi, and I'm concerned and worried for the lady because I'm just thinking, are you going to suffocate under all those Bears? You're going to get crushed by Bears by the front of the plexi. It's brilliant. But yeah, fair play. 74,599 stuffed animals, all going to good causes.
Absolutely well. One of my favorite parts of it is the fact that the broadcast team are also throwing their teddies on the ice as well, from like a way up who knows where in that arena. And yeah, my other favorite one is the player. So just after the massive teddy bear is thrown in, there's a player comes at speed into the pile of teddy bears as well and just disappears into them. I actually saw a couple of different angles of that from camera crews who managed to get on the ice really quickly, and you just see the guys disappear into the piles of teddies. It's fantastic. You got to imagine that must be a big gap in play there, though. To get nearly 75,000 teddy bears off the ice, like Elite League teams struggle to get all the pucks from Chuck-a-Puck off the ice in time for the game to start again. To get that many teddies off, you do sometimes wonder about momentum in those games. Obviously, the Hershey Bears went 1-0 up with that goal, and that was the Teddy Toss goal. You wonder what that does to momentum, that time off, because a lot of the time coaches will be like, right, you've got one, go get another. So I know that there's the humbugs who I think don't like it, but us, we love it.
I'm pretty sure we talk about this every year. I'm pretty sure this time of year,
we talk about the Hershey Bears every year.
We make sure we always look out for it every year. We make sure we want to talk about it every year because we know they're going to hit a new record every year. Just because the numbers of Bears they get each year just gets more and more ridiculous. So I've
just found an article there saying there that counting the record from Sunday's amount, right, which was the 70. Let's call it 74,000, 75,000. Since they've been doing it for 23 years now, that brings the number of donated teddies to 464,107 teddies donated over that period of time.
That's insane.
Love it.
Well, that's one. Mark, I'm going to take us to the last story as well, and potentially some new and interesting ways to watch the game.
Yeah. So this is just a news piece actually that came to my attention today. I was looking at at the moment the Aaron, you could probably maybe correct me. There's currently like a world technology conference thing on it. Yeah, and I think this probably came out of some of the stuff that's been going on across the kind of that whole area of technologies and stuff coming out. But I think this kind of came out as part of some of the stuff that was going on. But a company called Access Communication, which is a networking technology and industry leader, who offers video surveillance, access control, intercoms, audio systems, video controlling, have created a camera, a special camera, created in Sweden, I suppose, who have what they're saying is we'll be able to capture impossible angles that have never been used before inside of ice. So the problem has been that obviously cameras haven't been weather resistant in terms of if it gets too cold. Technology has meant that maybe cameras have switched off or just completely died. Battery hasn't been able to last, whatever that might look like. But they've created a small camera, less than 40 millimeters, I think. No, a small tiny camera that fits within the center ice of an ice rink. So they tested it out on an ice rink to see how it worked. And what they done was they set it up in the center ice part, so in the drop where they drop the puck, and they placed it in so that it could withstand temperatures from as low as minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever it might be. I can't remember. It's 40 degrees Celsius, and this camera can also last up to 60 degrees Celsius too. Full 1080p color audio, everything provides a 185 degree horizontal field, so can capture everything around it. And there's a video footage of the camera in use, and there's also a little image of the camera itself inside a little block of ice. And you can clearly see where they have set it down in the center of ice, and you can see that for the first time people dropping the puck down on top of it. It's phenomenal. If you get a chance, watch the video. We'll share the video on people's. But guys, did you see the video? Did you watch a bit of it to see how the camera works and how it looks? I mean, could you imagine this as a new form of sensor, a new form of camera for NHL?
Can I put one potential use out of this? If you put an array of these out, you can have them on the blue lines. You can have them on the goal lines. And having an angle that close on the ice, and if it was angled backwards into the goal to potentially show a puck crossing the line entirely for goal, no goal decisions, I think that would be pretty cool. Let alone the picture from centre ice straight up on face-offs is brilliant. Put those in all the face-off dots. Like that's a pretty cool angle to see things from. But I can see it as part of the game, actually, and part of the suite that lets officials make as accurate decisions as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big things about it was they were saying it was the fact that the battery and the camera itself and everything about it lasted for a full length of a hockey game. So it did last a full game and more so, because the way they tested it was they put it on to see how long it would last before they would need to kind of reset or anything. And it lasted a full length of the game plus more. But it's genuinely something that's quite exciting, and it would be definitely a new, unique look that we have never seen before. And it does allow for the Zamboni to drive over it and everything, so the Zamboni can drive over it back and forth, freeze it in place. And it's been designed in a way that it takes into consideration things like air bubbles, air pockets, and how maybe the ice forms when the Zamboni does go across. So it's quite an interesting setup.
I absolutely love the idea of whatever member of staff came up with this idea. Back in the day, I used to work for a company that developed CCTV cameras and access control systems, and I could just imagine people's looks as if I went up to them and said, "Here, do you want to know a really good idea on how we could market our cameras? Let's go up and watch some Belfast Giants game and put a camera into the ice." I would get some severe looks. So whoever came up with that idea and got it approved, all for it to you. Well done.
But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it's something in the future. We'll see.
We will. With that brings us to the end of period 3, Marty. And I don't see anything else on the running order.
Nope, that brings us to the end of period 3, and it brings us to the end of our podcast for this week. We just want to say again, massive thank you to Gav for coming on and joining us and allowing us to kind of just stick on a little Flyers logo and a Flyers colours there on him at the start of our podcast. If you haven't seen it, go on and watch the video and you'll see what we mean. But truly, we do mean it, and we said it whenever he was on. We were just so pleased for him, and we were just so glad that he had the opportunity to go out there in front of the home fans. Although not for the home team, but he got to go out there and got to live that dream out. So again, fair play to him, and thank you for giving us your time.
You know what's really nice about it though? No matter what, the entire arena would have been cheering for him. No matter what.
Oh yeah, massively. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so
Yep.
that's something to be said.
Yeah. And yeah, so again, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us tonight for those short minutes at the start of the podcast. We do appreciate it. We do have hopefully we did have, I hope you don't mind me saying, John, we do have another interview hopefully lined up. It just fell through at the last minute. Something did happen. We'll maybe talk about it whenever we put it out there. But we do have an interesting guest coming on, hopefully for our next podcast. We hope in 2 weeks' time. It just things happen in the world of hockey, especially when you're in a position that you're in, whenever you're this person in the position that he's in. So he had other things to tend to at the time. So we'll get back to it and we'll bring him on for our next podcast.
We got that close. We got that close, but we will get it.
We will get it. So look forward to that for our next podcast, hopefully. Guys, that's really it for this week. As usual, you can check out this podcast and other podcasts on our website at door14hockey.com. Check out our social medias, join the chat, give us a shout, give us questions, send us your stories. We're on all social media channels at door14hockey. Don't forget to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel, the little subscribe button down here somewhere in the bell thing. And also if you're listening to us on your podcast provider of choice, don't forget to, if you're not already, subscribe or leave us a comment or a rating, because we really do appreciate all of that. That's it for this week. All we have to do then now is sign off. I'm Marty.
I'm John.
I'm Aaron.
Have a great week.